What happens when history repeats itself in the most unexpected way? Donald Trump's return to the White House on January 20th, 2025, made waves across the world, marking the first time in over a century that a U.S. president served non-consecutive terms. The day was filled with bold actions, controversial decisions, and a nation divided in celebration and protest. From the policies signed within hours of his inauguration to the stark contrast reflected in Washington streets, this wasn't just another political ceremony, it was a statement. What were the key moments that shaped this day? How did Trump's actions signal his priorities for the future? And what does this inauguration mean for the United States moving forward? Let's dive in. The brisk air of January 20th, 2025, marked a day of historical significance as Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. This event, steeped in tradition and watched by millions across the globe, held an additional layer of intrigue. It marked Trump's return to the highest office after serving his first term from 2016 to 2020. Trump became the first president since Grover Cleveland to serve non-consecutive terms, a rarity in American political history that underscored his enduring influence. The day began with an atmosphere of anticipation in Washington, D.C. Despite the chill in the air, crowds gathered in the early hours near the Capitol, eager to witness the momentous occasion. Trump supporters, many donning red caps with his signature campaign slogan, lined the streets. Inside the Capitol, the atmosphere was one of solemnity and grandeur as preparations for the ceremony reached their final stages. The inauguration ceremony took place at the Capitol Rotunda, a departure from the outdoor ceremonies of previous inaugurations due to freezing temperatures. The change in venue created a more intimate setting for the event, yet it did not diminish its grandeur. The rotunda, adorned with patriotic symbols and historic artwork, served as a fitting backdrop for a day that would be etched in history. Chief Justice John Roberts, who has overseen numerous inaugurations, administered the oath of office. Trump, dressed in a black overcoat and his trademark red tie, stood confidently with his hand placed on a Bible. His demeanor was calm and resolute as he repeated the words that would officially make him president once again. The room, filled with dignitaries, former presidents, and family members, erupted into applause as the oath concluded. Outside, cheers echoed from the gathered crowds, their enthusiasm undiminished despite watching the ceremony on large screens instead of being present inside. Melania Trump, the former First Lady and now resuming the role, accompanied her husband with her usual grace and composure. She wore an elegant blue ensemble, a nod to the traditions of formal wear often seen on such occasions. Cameras captured her poised demeanor as she stood beside Donald Trump, supporting him in his historic moment. The guest list for the event was as notable as the ceremony itself. Former Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton attended, representing the continuity of American leadership. Their presence carried its own significance, each a reminder of different eras in U.S. politics. Barack Obama, seated alongside Michelle Obama, maintained a reflective expression throughout the proceedings. George W. Bush, always one to avoid the spotlight, remained composed, his occasional nods suggesting an acknowledgement of the weight of the moment. Bill Clinton, joined by Hillary Clinton, exhibited a calm demeanor, though their shared glances hinted at unspoken thoughts about the day's implications. Other notable attendees included members of Congress, Supreme Court justices, and international diplomats, each present to mark the peaceful transfer, or in this case, return, of power. The presence of dignitaries highlighted the importance of the day not just for the United States but for the world, as nations watched closely to see the tone and direction Trump would set in his second term. The crowd outside the Capitol reflected the diversity of opinions surrounding Trump's presidency. His supporters, filled with enthusiasm, waved American flags and carried signs of support, while pockets of demonstrators held their own gatherings, expressing concerns over his policies and rhetoric. The juxtaposition of cheers and chants symbolized the divided political climate that had characterized much of the nation's discourse over recent years. Trump's inaugural address, a highly anticipated moment of the day, provided a glimpse into his plans and priorities for the next 4 years. His speech, delivered with his characteristic assertiveness, focused on themes of strength, resilience, and national pride. Trump emphasized the need to rebuild the country's economy, strengthen its borders, and assert its position on the global stage. He spoke of lessons learned from his first term and vowed to deliver on the promises that had galvanized his base. The rhetoric resonated with his supporters but drew mixed reactions from others in attendance. As the speech progressed, Trump highlighted his vision of an America-first approach, a cornerstone of his political philosophy. He touched on topics ranging from manufacturing jobs to energy independence, framing his agenda as one focused on restoring the country's greatness. While some attendees responded with applause, others remained reserved, reflecting the polarized reactions that have long accompanied Trump's leadership style. The ceremony was meticulously planned, yet moments of spontaneity provided glimpses into the human side of the day. Trump's interactions with family members, including his children Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric, and Tiffany, showcased a personal dimension to the highly public occasion. The family stood united, their presence a reminder of the significant role they have played in Trump's political narrative. As the ceremony concluded, the sounds of the national anthem filled the rotunda. Attendees stood in reverence, many visibly moved by the moment's gravity. Outside, the crowd began dispersing, though the excitement lingered. For those present, it was a day that symbolized both continuity and change, a reflection of the enduring traditions of American democracy and the unique circumstances that brought Donald Trump back to the presidency. The morning of January 20th, 2025, was not just a ceremony, it was a statement. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in Trump's political career and a continuation of the complex and evolving story of the United States. As the day progressed, all eyes remained on the president, his team, and the decisions that would shape the nation's future. In every corner of Washington, and indeed the world, the events of the day were discussed and debated, underscoring their far-reaching implications. The inauguration of Donald Trump was not only historic but a reminder of the enduring nature of democracy amidst the challenges of a divided political landscape. As the formalities of the inauguration ceremony gave way to the day's unfolding events, the focus shifted beyond the rotunda to the larger narrative taking shape across Washington, D.C. The city, alive with both celebration and protest, reflected the divided sentiment surrounding Donald Trump's return to the presidency. For many of his supporters, this was a vindication, a triumph against all odds. For others, it was a moment of concern and introspection about the country's direction. While the Capitol grounds remained a focal point, various groups convened in nearby locations, holding rallies that ranged from celebratory to critical. Trump's most loyal followers, many of whom had traveled from across the country, filled the streets near the National Mall. American flags, banners, and signs proclaiming support for Trump were a common sight, with chants of "USA, USA" echoing in the cold January air. The energy was palpable, a mix of hope, determination, and defiance. Yet alongside these gatherings were demonstrators holding their own protests, carrying signs with messages about unity, human rights, and environmental concerns. The juxtaposition was stark but emblematic of the democratic ideals that allow for such diverse expressions. Inside the White House, the new administration wasted no time setting its agenda into motion. By the early afternoon, Trump had signed a series of executive orders that would signal his priorities for his second term. Among the most notable was an order to reintroduce policies aimed at strengthening the country's energy independence, a move that included lifting certain restrictions on oil and gas production. This decision was met with swift reactions, with supporters hailing it as a step toward economic revitalization, and critics raising alarms over its potential environmental impact. It was a clear indication that Trump's America First approach would continue to define his administration's policies. Another executive order focused on revisiting immigration policies, including reinstating measures that had been central to his first term. The directive to enhance border security and reintroduce stricter immigration controls reignited debates that had long polarized the nation. Supporters saw it as a necessary step to protect national interests, while opponents voiced concerns about its humanitarian implications. These decisions, made within hours of taking office, underscored Trump's intent to move swiftly and decisively. The pardons issued on this day also drew significant attention. Trump granted clemency to individuals charged in connection with the January 6th Capitol attack, a decision that was as controversial as it was anticipated. Supporters framed the move as a gesture of reconciliation, while critics saw it as a deeply divisive act that could set a concerning precedent. The responses were immediate, with news outlets and commentators dissecting the implications of these actions and their potential impact on the nation's legal and political fabric. Meanwhile, the streets of Washington remained vibrant with activity. Near the Capitol, smaller gatherings of activists and advocacy groups sought to make their voices heard. These groups, representing a range of causes, highlighted issues such as climate change, healthcare reform, and social justice. The diverse array of voices reflected the complexity of the political landscape, where differing perspectives coexist and often clash. The media, both domestic and international, covered every aspect of the day with intense scrutiny. Major networks broadcasted live updates, with analysts and commentators providing real-time insights into the significance of the events. Social media platforms buzzed with activity as individuals shared photos, videos, and opinions related to the inauguration trended globally, amplifying the reach and impact of the day's developments. The presence of international diplomats and representatives added another dimension to the event. Leaders from allied nations closely observed Trump's return, with many issuing formal statements congratulating him while emphasizing the importance of continued cooperation. Yet, there were also notes of caution from some corners, as global leaders assessed how Trump's policies might affect international relations. The world's reaction was a reminder of the interconnected nature of modern politics, where decisions made in Washington have far-reaching consequences. As the day progressed, attention turned to the traditional inaugural parade, a hallmark of the day's celebrations. The parade, though scaled down compared to past years due to logistical and security considerations, retained its symbolic significance. Military bands, ceremonial units, and community organizations participated, showcasing the diversity and resilience of the nation. Along the route, spectators waved flags and cheered, their enthusiasm a testament to the enduring spirit of democracy. Throughout the city, security remained tight, with law enforcement and the National Guard ensuring the safety of the participants and attendees. The heightened security measures reflected both the lessons learned from recent years and the ongoing challenges of maintaining public safety during high-profile events. Despite the challenges, the day proceeded without major incidents, a testament to the coordination and dedication of those tasked with safeguarding the occasion. Amidst the public spectacle, private moments also unfolded. Trump's family, a prominent presence throughout the day, gathered to share in the celebrations. Ivanka Trump, Donald Jr., Eric, and Tiffany were seen engaging with attendees and supporters, their interactions reflecting the familial bond that has been a defining feature of Trump's political journey. These moments, though less publicized, carried a personal significance for the family, marking the continuation of a legacy that has deeply intertwined with American politics. By the late afternoon, the city began to transition from the formalities of the inauguration to the evening celebrations. The day had been marked by moments of triumph, tension, and reflection, each contributing to the larger narrative of a nation navigating its path forward. As the sun set over Washington, the Capitol stood as a testament to the resilience of its democratic institutions and the enduring spirit of its people. The inauguration of Donald Trump was not just an event, but a statement, a reminder of the complexities and contradictions that define the American experience. As the day transitioned into its later hours, the focus shifted to the broader implications of Donald Trump's swift actions and the immediate responses they provoked. Inside the White House, the momentum from the morning's ceremony carried forward as the new administration continued to roll out decisions that would shape the early days of Trump's second term. His executive orders, signed earlier in the day, were already dominating headlines, sparking intense debates across political and social spheres. One of the most polarizing moves was the reinstatement of stricter immigration policies. This included the reactivation of measures aimed at enhancing border security and restricting immigration from specific regions. Trump's decision to prioritize these actions reflected the continuation of his America First agenda, a hallmark of his previous term. The debate over immigration, already a deeply divisive topic in the United States, reignited almost instantly. Advocacy groups, legal experts, and political analysts took to various platforms to dissect the implications, highlighting both the economic and humanitarian dimensions of the policy. Meanwhile, Trump's order to lift restrictions on oil and gas production, aimed at bolstering energy independence, received mixed reactions. Supporters applauded the move as a step toward economic growth and job creation, particularly in energy-dependent regions. Critics, however, raised concerns about the potential environmental consequences and the rollback of progress made in addressing climate change. The decisions underscored the sharp contrasts between Trump's vision and that of the preceding administration, further amplifying the polarized discourse. Outside the White House, the day's events continued to unfold across Washington. The National Mall, which had been a hub of activity since the morning, now reflected a mix of celebratory and reflective tones. Supporters of the new administration remained enthusiastic, gathering in groups to discuss the day's events and their hopes for the next 4 years. For many, this day represented not just a political shift, but a validation of their belief in Trump's leadership. However, alongside these gatherings, demonstrations against Trump's policies gained momentum. Groups advocating for environmental protection, immigrant rights, and social justice organized rallies to voice their opposition. Their messages, though diverse in focus, shared a common theme of resistance to the administration's agenda. The streets of Washington became a microcosm of the national divide, with both sides passionately expressing their perspectives. The media coverage of the day captured these contrasts in vivid detail. News networks and online platforms offered comprehensive analyses featuring interviews with policymakers, legal experts, and community leaders. Social media, as always, played a significant role in shaping the narrative, with users sharing real-time updates, opinions, and reactions. Trending hashtags highlighted the key moments of the day, from the inaugural speech to the executive orders, ensuring that the conversation extended far beyond Washington. Internationally, Trump's return to power was met with a range of reactions. Allies expressed cautious optimism, emphasizing their commitment to maintaining strong diplomatic ties while acknowledging the potential challenges ahead. Critics, on the other hand, voiced concerns over the implications of Trump's policies on global cooperation in areas such as climate change and trade. The responses underscored the global significance of U.S. leadership and the far-reaching impact of its domestic decisions. As evening approached, the day's events culminated in the traditional inaugural celebrations. The scaled-back inaugural parade, though less grand than in previous years, retained its symbolic importance. The parade route, lined with spectators waving flags and cheering, was a testament to the enduring spirit of the occasion. Military bands, ceremonial units, and representatives from various states participated, reflecting the diversity and unity of the nation. The evening celebrations also included the inaugural balls, a time-honored tradition that provided an opportunity for attendees to gather in a more relaxed setting. These events, though smaller in scale, carried the same sense of significance, marking the conclusion of a historic day and the beginning of a new chapter. Trump and Melania, joined by family and close allies, attended the main inaugural ball, where brief remarks and a first dance served as highlights of the evening. Despite the celebratory atmosphere, the undercurrents of the day's controversies remained. Trump's bold actions and rhetoric had set the tone for his presidency, leaving no doubt about his intent to govern with the same decisive style that had defined his previous term. The reactions, both domestic and international, reflected the complexities of navigating a deeply divided political landscape. For Washington, the day was both a reflection of its resilience and a reminder of the challenges ahead. The city, with its iconic landmarks and rich history, had once again served as the backdrop for a momentous occasion. The energy of the day, from the formalities of the morning to the gatherings of the evening, captured the essence of a democracy in motion, imperfect yet enduring, contentious yet vibrant. As the Capitol settled into the night, the discussions and debates sparked by the inauguration showed no signs of waning. Across the nation, people continued to analyze the events, their implications, and what they meant for the future of the United States. The day had not only marked the return of a controversial leader, but had also brought to the forefront the enduring tensions and aspirations that define the American experience. It was a day that would be remembered not just for its ceremonies, but for its ability to reflect the complexities of a nation and its people. As the evening deepened over Washington, The Inauguration Day continued to unfold with a mix of reflection and anticipation. The city, still brimming with activity, served as the epicenter of discussions, both celebratory and critical, about Donald Trump's return to the presidency. The day's events had already set a definitive tone for his second term, leaving the nation divided in its reactions, but united in its attention to the unfolding political landscape. Inside the White House, the momentum from earlier in the day showed no signs of slowing. Meetings with senior advisors and key figures from Trump's administration took place as they began strategizing the immediate implementation of the newly signed executive orders. The directives issued earlier in the day, ranging from changes in immigration policies to energy independence initiatives, dominated these discussions. The administration's determination to move swiftly and decisively was evident, as was the sense of urgency to deliver on the promises made during Trump's campaign. Simultaneously, the reactions to these policies were already reverberating across the country. Advocacy groups and political commentators dissected each decision, analyzing their potential impact on both domestic and international fronts. Immigration, in particular, became a focal point of debate. Trump's reinstatement of stricter border security measures drew praise from those who viewed it as essential to national security. Still, it also reignited criticism from civil rights organizations and legal experts who raised concerns about the humanitarian implications. Media outlets provided comprehensive coverage, offering a platform for voices on both sides of the issue to weigh in. Energy policy was another contentious area that garnered significant attention. Trump's move to roll back restrictions on oil and gas production was seen by many as a step toward economic growth, particularly in regions reliant on the energy industry. However, environmental groups and climate activists expressed strong opposition, warning about the long-term consequences for the planet. The renewed debate underscored the enduring tension between economic priorities and environmental responsibility, a challenge that has long shaped U.S. policymaking. In Washington's streets, the public's engagement with the day's events remained palpable. Protesters continued to gather in various parts of the city, their voices adding to the ongoing dialogue about the direction of the country. From climate change advocates to immigration reform supporters, these groups brought attention to the issues they felt would be most affected by Trump's presidency. Their presence served as a reminder of the vibrant, albeit often contentious nature of American democracy, where differing viewpoints are not only tolerated but essential to the national discourse. At the same time, Trump's supporters celebrated the day with unrelenting enthusiasm. Their gatherings, filled with chants of support and displays of patriotism, reflected their optimism for the new administration's ability to address their priorities. For many of these individuals, Trump's return symbolized a resurgence of their values and a reaffirmation of their faith in his leadership. The contrast between the celebratory and critical tones throughout the city was stark, yet it also highlighted the multifaceted nature of the day. The media remained a central player in capturing and amplifying these dynamics. News anchors and analysts debated the significance of the policies announced, while social media platforms continued to buzz with reactions related to the inauguration trended well into the evening, offering a digital space for individuals to share their perspectives. The sheer volume of content generated underscored the deep interest and engagement the day had sparked, both nationally and internationally. Among the evening's notable moments was the smaller-scale inaugural ball held in Trump's honor. While the festivities were more subdued compared to those of previous inaugurations, they retained their traditional significance. Trump, joined by Melania and members of his family, addressed attendees with a brief speech, thanking his supporters and emphasizing his vision for the future. The event, attended by prominent figures from politics, business, and entertainment, provided a more personal and celebratory end to the formal proceedings of the day. For the Trump family, the evening carried a personal significance. The presence of his children, including Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric, and Tiffany, underscored the familial aspect of Trump's political journey. Their interactions with guests and supporters reflected a united front, a hallmark of their public image throughout Trump's career. Melania, as always, carried herself with poise, her understated elegance complementing the tone of the evening. Beyond the Capitol, the nation's response to the inauguration remained a mixture of hope and skepticism. In small towns and major cities alike, Americans gathered in homes, community centers, and public spaces to discuss the implications of the day's events. For Trump's supporters, the inauguration was a moment of triumph, a validation of their belief in his leadership and policies. For his critics, it was a call to action, a reminder of the importance of vigilance and advocacy in the face of policies they opposed. On the international stage, world leaders and diplomats closely monitored the developments in Washington. The implications of Trump's policies, particularly his decisions on energy and immigration, prompted reactions from allies and rivals alike. Statements of cautious optimism came from some corners, emphasizing the importance of maintaining strong bilateral relations. However, there were also concerns about the potential for heightened tensions in areas where Trump's policies diverged from global norms. The international dimension of the day underscored the far-reaching impact of U.S. leadership on the world stage. As the day drew to a close, the significance of January 20th, 2025 became increasingly clear. It was a day that not only marked the return of a controversial figure to the presidency, but also highlighted the complexities of governance in a deeply divided nation. The policies enacted, the protests held, and the celebrations enjoyed were all part of a broader narrative about the challenges and opportunities facing the United States. The enduring memory of the day was one of contrast, a celebration of democratic tradition alongside the reality of political polarization. It was a reminder of the resilience of American institutions and the importance of civic engagement in shaping the country's future. As the lights of Washington flickered against the night sky, the conversation sparked by the day's events showed no signs of slowing, setting the stage for what promised to be a defining chapter in the nation's history. As the final hours of Inauguration Day unfolded, Washington, D.C. began to quiet down, but the significance of the day continued to resonate across the nation and beyond. The events, decisions, and discussions that had defined the day left an indelible mark on the political and cultural landscape of the United States. The energy that had permeated the Capitol since the morning transitioned into reflection, with many contemplating what Donald Trump's return to the presidency would mean for the next 4 years. Within the White House, the pace remained relentless. Senior staff members worked late into the evening, solidifying plans to implement the newly signed executive orders. The administration's determination to act decisively was evident in its swift operational approach. Trump, known for his preference for direct engagement, held informal discussions with key advisors, emphasizing the need to maintain momentum in delivering on campaign promises. His focus remained unwavering on issues he had identified as priorities: economic revitalization, national security, and reasserting American dominance on the global stage. While the administration worked behind closed doors, the streets of Washington reflected the day's many layers of emotion. Supporters who had traveled great distances to witness the event began to depart, many with a renewed sense of optimism and pride. For them, this day was a reaffirmation of their beliefs and a validation of the movement they had supported for years. Their conversations were filled with discussions of the policies announced and the promises made, fueling hopes for a presidency that would deliver tangible results. In contrast, protesters and advocacy groups continued their vigils, determined to keep their voices heard. Many had spent the entire day engaging with fellow demonstrators, the media, and passers-by, ensuring their concerns about Trump's policies remained in the public eye. The persistence of these groups underscored the depth of opposition to the administration's agenda and their commitment to advocating for change. As the day turned to night, their chants and signs served as a reminder of the nation's deeply divided political climate. The media's coverage of the day continued unabated, with news outlets providing in-depth analyses and round-the-clock updates. Panel discussions featured a wide range of perspectives, from supporters praising Trump's boldness to critics questioning the long-term consequences of his policies. Social media platforms remained a dynamic space for discourse, with hashtags related to the inauguration continuing to trend. Posts ranged from celebratory photos and videos to sharp critiques, reflecting the polarized reactions that had become a hallmark of Trump's political career. International reactions to the day's events also began to take shape. Leaders from allied nations issued formal statements congratulating Trump on his return to the presidency, while also emphasizing the importance of continued cooperation on shared global challenges. Some responses, however, hinted at concerns over potential policy shifts that could affect international relations. The decisions made by Trump earlier in the day, particularly those related to energy and immigration, were closely scrutinized by foreign governments, many of which prepared for possible diplomatic adjustments in response to the new administration's priorities. Inauguration Day also marked a critical moment for Trump's family, whose presence throughout the events highlighted their integral role in his political narrative. Ivanka Trump, often seen as one of her father's closest confidants, interacted with attendees at the inaugural ball, reinforcing her image as both a supportive daughter and an influential figure in the administration. Donald Jr., Eric, and Tiffany also engaged with supporters, their unity as a family reflecting the strength of their public image. Melania Trump, with her characteristic poise, remained a steady presence by her husband's side, her quiet elegance complementing the formality of the occasion. As the inaugural balls concluded and guests began to leave, the city gradually settled into the stillness of the night. The lights of the Capitol and the White House illuminated the surrounding streets, a visual reminder of the enduring traditions of American democracy. For Washington, this was not the end of a single day's events, but the beginning of a new chapter in the nation's history. The decisions made, the voices raised, and the moments shared would continue to shape the country's path in the weeks and months to come. Across the nation, people reflected on the day's significance. For Trump supporters, it was a moment of triumph and validation, a sign that their vision for the country had prevailed. For his critics, it was a call to action, a reminder of the work needed to advocate for the causes they held dear. The duality of these reactions mirrored the broader divide in the country, highlighting the challenges of governing a nation with deeply entrenched differences. The next morning, as the country awoke to a new presidential term, the conversations sparked by Inauguration Day showed no signs of slowing. News headlines analyzed Trump's speech, dissected the implications of his executive orders, and speculated on the administration's next steps. Social media platforms continued to buzz with discussions, from policy debates to personal stories of those who had attended the day's events. The inauguration had not only marked a political milestone, but had also become a cultural moment, reflecting the complexities and contradictions of modern American society. In many ways, January 20th, 2025, was a microcosm of the United States itself, a nation defined by its diversity of thought, its resilience in the face of challenges, and its capacity for change. The day served as a reminder of the power of democracy to both unite and divide, to celebrate tradition while grappling with the realities of a changing world. As the final traces of Inauguration Day faded into memory, its impact remained tangible. The policies announced, the debates sparked, and the stories shared would continue to influence the nation's trajectory. For Donald Trump and his administration, the day marked the start of a new opportunity to lead, to fulfill promises, and to confront the challenges ahead. For the American people, it was a moment to reflect on their role in shaping the country's future, a reminder that democracy is not just an event, but an ongoing endeavor. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.